Hello, everyone. My name is ARIANNY Eduardo, and I am the Interim Executive Director of IMPAC Fund. Today, we're gathered here to launch IMPAC Fund's part of ABIC's Immigration Reform Now campaign with bipartisan business leaders, farmers, and essential workers. ABIC is a bipartisan coalition of over 1,200 CEOs and employers across the country, from Texas to Florida, Arizona to Idaho. Our members are manufacturers, hospitals, energy companies, dairy farmers, growers, mom and pop stores, and small business owners, united for the same cause, which is to move a path to citizenship forward. We strongly prefer bipartisan solutions, but despite many positive conversations with Republican senators, none has stepped forward to co-sponsor existing bipartisan standalone bills like DREAM and essential workers. If reconciliation is going to move forward, adding an immigration component is the only vehicle in sight. And making sure that we add that immigration component, it's the only vehicle inside at the moment. So at least for this election cycle, today we're continuing our multi-state, multifaceted, seven-figure campaign to fix our nation's broken immigration system and bring it into the 21st century. Our economy has 10.1 unfulfilled jobs, and 72% of American voters support immigration solutions. So we know there is opportunity to move this forward. So that's why we're launching today this campaign to finally get immigration reform across the finish line, because after decades of waiting, our economy, the business community, workers and families simply can't wait any longer. So thank you all for joining us today. And I am honored to introduce Dr. Bonhomme. Dr. Bonhomme is the president of the Greater Haitian-American Chamber of Commerce and has been with us throughout this entire journey to make sure that we push forward a path for immigration. So Dr. Bonhomme?
Hello, good morning. Thank you, IMPAC. Thank you, ABIC, for this opportunity to participate in this bipartisan immigration conference. My name is Dr. Bonhomme. I'm too Haitian immigrant. My father immigrated to the US for 40 years in search of a better opportunity for my sister and me. Now, with the recent assassination of President Jovenel Moïse and this most recent earthquake, our Haitian community is hurting. I ask that you keep Haiti lifted up with your thoughts and prayers. The time to act is now. Immigration reform is urgent, bipartisan, and belongs in the budget reconciliation. We have waited for decades for immigration solution, and Congress has failed to act to protect the security of our community and our families. 2021 inaction is unacceptable. The notion that the path to permanent residency, citizenship will create a rush to the border, that's a lie. Again, immigrants covered under this bill, including dreamers, TPS, recipient farmers, are already here, making critical contribution to our economy and communities. Immigrants paid over $458 billion state, local, and federal taxes in 2018. The notion that immigrants are taking American jobs, that's a lie. Immigrants create jobs and strengthen the economy. As noted in 2024's headline, it says immigrants create more jobs than they take. Immigration reforms belong in the budget reconciliation, and the parliamentarian must rule accordingly based on economic impact, boost to the federal treasury and precedent. The rules state reconciliation can be used for measures that impact federal spending, revenues, and the federal debt limit. Immigration fits right in. Legalization boosts our economic activity by $121 billion a year. If the path to legalization and citizenship for dreamers, farm workers, TPS holders, and essential workers were created, federal, state, and local tax revenues will be increased by $31 billion a year. The time to act is now. Bipartisan solution for permanent residency and the path to citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bonhomme, for those powerful words. And next, we have a statement from Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, NIKKI Fried.
Good morning, everyone. I'm NIKKI Fried, Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. It is my pleasure and honor to be here with you today, fighting for our immigrant community and their rights. The United States has always been a nation of immigrants that is part of the greatness and strength that characterizes us as a country. Immigrants are part of our identity, of who we are as a nation, and even more so as a state. In Florida, the importance of our immigrant community cannot be understated. As the state's Commissioner of Agriculture, this is a fact I can personally attest to, as agriculture is our state's second largest industry, thanks in large part to the dedication of the men and women in agriculture, many of whom are immigrants. In fact, over 40% of immigrants in Florida work in agriculture, ensuring every day that food is brought to the tables of not only our fellow Floridians, but the entire country. As integral part of our communities and essential to our safe, secure, domestic food supply, I am committed to doing everything in my power to give our immigrant community the recognition, gratitude, and support that they deserve. The moment to act is now. It is beyond time to do the right thing and pass comprehensive immigration reform in our country. This is why I call on Congress now to include a pathway to citizenship in the reconciliation package and finally provide the 11 million undocumented people who call the United States home with the certainty and status they deserve, so that they may live without fear of being deported and separated from their loved ones. This is the only home that dreamers know, and we cannot send TPS recipients back to their home countries where it is no safer a situation than when they originally were granted their status. It is time to embrace what makes us as a great nation, the immigrant heritage that makes us who we are. We must all come together to celebrate our immigrant community and provide them with the opportunity to achieve the American dream, to lead a dignified life in the country they have contributed to immensely. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for Representative, Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, NIKKI Fried. Thank you for those powerful words. Next, we have a statement from RENE PLASENCIA. He's here to tell us a few words.
Thank you, Ariana. My name is RENE PLASENCIA. I'm a member of the Florida House of Representatives, representing District 50 in Southeast Orange County and North Brevard County. You know, before getting elected, I was a high school teacher, and I taught at a school that was 85% Hispanic, but we had kids from all over the world represented in that school here in Orange County, and many of my kids were dreamers. And I remember the conversations I had with many of them of their desire to, want to, further their education at the university level, be able to gain a gainful employment in our communities and contribute to essentially the only community that they've ever known, many of them coming here as young children or as babies as well. The immigration reform has been long overdue. It's something that's vital to many of our communities. I always think of it in this way. My mother's from Puerto Rico, my father's from Cuba. My father came here from Cuba back in 1963 during a different time. And obviously, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. But it's only circumstances and politics that allowed for my family to come here and be able to have and search for that American dream. It very easily had history been different. Both my parents could have been coming here from countries that didn't have the advantages that Cuba did at the time, or that Puerto Rico does as a territory. So I see my advocacy for immigration reform is for children that are growing up in this community, much like I grew up, speaking two languages, knowing two separate cultures. And if it had not been for circumstance and politics, I could very well be in the same circumstances that they're in now, and my mom and dad could be in the same circumstances. We're all in this together. We all came here as immigrants, no matter how far back you want to trace your lineage. Everyone came to this country from somewhere else, and this is a great melting pot. That's what makes the United States great. We need our federal Congress to act now on immigration reform for the benefit of all of us here in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. And this is the melting pot of the world, and we thank the United States for allowing that option and for continuing us to grow. I mean, I'm an immigrant myself, so I appreciate that. Next, we have a statement from Darren Soto. Darren Soto is a United States representative.
Hello, I'm Congressman Darren Soto, and I'm honored to join Floridians for a Path Forward on Immigration virtual press conference. And thank you for all you all are doing as a bipartisan coalition to get immigration reform finally done. Immigration solutions strengthen our economy in the United States. It helps promote growth in small businesses, helps make sure to meet the demands of a growing nation. And action from Congress is needed immediately. Dreamers, farm workers, TPS recipients, and essential workers are counting on us to come up with bipartisan solutions like the Dream and Promise Act or the DREAM Act in the Senate, like the Farm Workforce Modernization Act introduced in both houses, like the Secure Act in the Senate, as well as to help with essential workers who've been fighting to keep America going, helping our constituents in need during this pandemic. Right now, there are more than 825,000 DACA recipients, including over 26,000 here in the Sunshine State. Tens of thousands of other young Floridians are eligible, but a recent ruling blocked first-time DACA applicants from proceeding. This means the time for action is now. The U.S. economy has over 3.1 million unfilled jobs, with the highest rates in leisure, hospitality, accommodations, and food services. This is crippling the tourism industry here in Central Florida, our major industry in the area. Also, it's hurting agriculture, our other major industry in the area. Immigrants also are huge for small business. They own almost 1 million businesses that generate over $15 billion in business income here in the United States. Immigrants also pay their taxes, more than $30 billion in state and federal taxes across this nation. More than 2/3 of workers who are immigrants are frontline essential workers. They're the ones keeping us together during this pandemic. It's been over 35 years since we updated our immigration laws. Then Republican President Ronald Reagan and Democratic Speaker Tip O'Neill came together. They got it done. Like generations before us, we need to come together for a bipartisan solution. We need to come together with these 4 key bills. If not, and reconciliation is the only avenue left, then we must still proceed. Inaction is unacceptable. The time for having reform is upon us, and we need real solutions now. We will pass a generational immigration reform to help all American families be reunited and stay united, to boost our economy, and to build back better. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Darren Soto for those statements, and definitely we do need to build back better. Next, we have a very special speaker. Her name is YOLNICK CADET. She is a TPS recipient and a certified nurse. YOLNICK.
Hello, good morning. As you can see, I am at work, but I take a little time of myself to speak on behalf of over 350,000 immigrants and TPS holder or more. My name is YOLNICK. I have been living in Florida for the past 11 years. I moved here with 5 kids. And now I make Florida my home. There is no turning back. I am so proud of myself. Every time I find a chance to speak, I always do. The reason why I'm here this morning is to thank Congress for doing the first step on giving us the opportunity to reapply for TPS. For someone like me, I have over 2 children that was born in the Bahamas who were waiting for TPS for 11 years. Someday I cried because I didn't know what to do. They couldn't go to college because we met a lawyer that told us they couldn't qualify for TPS. We have been waiting for 11 years, but now finally, I already applied for my 2 girls. With tears in my eyes, I went to the lawyer yesterday. I applied for my girls. They are finally going to have their TPS. As a matter of fact, I have so many licenses. I'm a CNA, I'm a PTC, a patient care technician. I'm a behavior technician. With the TPS, I am able to support myself and my family. I had my dream cars. I drive a Range Rover, which really make me so happy. Sometimes I ask myself, the other people that don't have any status, how can they survive in this country? Because we really need help. We thank Congress for helping us, but we need for them to continue to look forward because we can't go back to Haiti. We lost our president, and right now there is a big earthquake that everybody realized how bad it is in Haiti. There is no turning back. We can't go back. It's not us. It's all immigrants. The country rely on the immigrants. We are the one who work. We pay taxes. We go to school. We don't come around to sit doing nothing. We do so much for this country. And I know this country rely on us to be better. All the economy, we are a part of it. Without us, I think they would fail. They should respect that. I am an essential worker. I have been working 2020, the long time. I work 13 to 24 hours a day to help save lives. I help children with autism, and I help kids from 3 and adults who have Alzheimer, dementia. As you can see, I'm at work. I still have to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Johnny. And as you can see, she was at work fighting, for her family, at work contributing to the economy, at work doing everything she possibly can to move forward. And these are the people that are the front lines they are in the front line of the pandemic. So we appreciate her coming in and even while she was at work, making sure to represent her community and also push for a path forward. So next we have Leslie Simmons. She is the president of the Venezuelan-American Chamber of Commerce. Leslie?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity. After listening to Yolnik's work, it's very tough to type right now because you go directly to my heart and my feelings. And I'm so happy for you and so for so many who can also be on your position. Thanks for this opportunity. I also represent a coalition of Venezuelan binational Chamber of Commerce from 9 countries. We can't be more thankful to this country for the approval of the recent TPS and the extension of the plan for September 2022. And it is an great opportunity for more than 3,023 Venezuelans, but for today we only have who has applied is only almost 1,500, and it's why? Because they are also afraid. And because it is also limited, and they want to be able to receive a green card and as in this moment. The Venezuelan citizens for history have been involved in key industries like healthcare and manufacturers, essential workers, students, technology all over the country, not only in Florida. We are willing to make more investments, and we are willing to be more helpful to this country who has opened their arms for all our citizens, and that will represent incomes. So thank you very much, and we just want to make the statement that the immigration reform is very urgent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie, and thank you so much for your support throughout this journey as well. Next, we have Jorge Figueroa. He's going to give us a statement as well in support of Path Forward. Hi, Jorge.
Hello, thank you very much, ARIANNY, and thank you for including us in here. My name is Jorge Figueroa, the president of the Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida. And many people ask me, why do we support immigration? We as Puerto Ricans don't have a problem with immigration as we are born as United States citizens. However, in my journey in the United States, I moved when I was 17 from Puerto Rico to Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is a state where there are a lot of immigrants. Mexicans are the largest Hispanic population, and all of my best friends are Mexicans, some of which just recently obtained their citizenship status. Here with the Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida, we serve a very diverse population that includes Venezuelans who are TPS holders, Mexicans who are still waiting to become citizens. And it is time for our Congress, our people in power, our elected officials to take on this responsibility that affects millions of people. During my journey in Wisconsin as an admissions counselor, I was able to recruit dozens of dreamers who had been in this country since they were kids, and this is the only country they know. Some of them don't even speak Spanish, as you know, they were born and raised in the United States. Some of these kids were able to put themselves through school, finish college, obtain a degree, and they are productive members of this society. Some of them have served in the military. They have sacrificed so much for this country, yet they cannot be called citizens of this great nation. As the Chamber of Commerce, we know the importance of immigrants in our economy. Here in Florida, they produced over $31 billion in state, federal, and local taxes. So the impact in the economy is huge, and we know that it is great and necessary for our businesses to grow, for our states, local communities to continue to grow, and for this nation to succeed. We are a nation created by immigrants. So this reform, it is nothing new to this country, but we've been waiting for too long for bipartisanship and for members of Congress to come together and make this not a temporary solution, but a permanent one for all these individuals who love this country and want to make it better. So I urge Congress to support bipartisan legislation like the Dreamers Act, but if we cannot get it done through bipartisanship, which is the preferred method, we must include this in the reconciliation of our budget. It is an economic decision, it is a business decision, and it is the right thing to do. Let's stop playing all these political games because one party is in power or another one is. The victory is not for one party, but for all these immigrants, these millions of immigrants, hundreds of thousands of dreamers, hundreds of thousands of TPS eligible individuals to make a change and make this country great. So I thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward for this item to be included in the reconciliation so we can have a path forward for immigration reform. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much, Jorge. And what a powerful statement. This isn't a party issue. This is an economic issue. This is a nation's issue. Next, we have Alfonso Vidal. He is the president of Vidal Plastics. Hi, Alfonso.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, as you heard, my name is Alfonso Vidal, and I came to Evansville, Indiana, back in 1997, seeking a safe place to live and establish my family after being kidnapped by Colombian guerrillas. We were kidnapped for 11 days down in the jungles of Colombia. I'm originally from Venezuela, where I was born and raised until a leisure fishing trip was cut short by the group FARC and we were taken into Colombia. My wife and I met in college in our native country of Venezuela. And after the kidnapping, we got married and came to Evansville, Indiana. We were two bilingual engineers with master's degree that arrived to this area of the Midwest, to Southwest Indiana, to take advantage of the many opportunities that have been presented to us. Evansville was ready at the time for our backgrounds. It was the right place at the right time for us. In a very emotional spring day of 2013, we were sworn in as proud citizens of the United States of America. But it was not an easy process. We came in first under a tourist visa, then we switched to a student visa, then later became a work permit, then an H-1B visa. And then after many years, we obtained our green card and finally citizenship in 2013. 16 years of struggle, many expenses and uncertainty that finally paid off that spring day of our swearing. We were awarded the prize that we worked so hard for. Initially, we wanted to go back to our home country. We thought we were preparing and being educated here to go back and invest our lives in our home country. But socialism took over, and we made the decision to stay here in Evansville because we reckoned that the changes that Hugo Chavez was implemented in the country were going to fundamentally transform our society for generations to come. And it did. We wanted a different future for our family, different path for our family and our children. And it was the path for us was clear in this country. There is no doubt that we worked really hard to stabilize our immigration status and succeed in the many opportunities presented to us. However, we had a path to citizenship based on having technical and advanced degrees. Many others don't have that path. They would work as hard as we did, but there is simply no path to do it right. I am an engineer with a master's degree, and after many years of hard work, I now own VIDAL Plastics, a plastic compounder and recycler of resins that supply resin to the injection molding industry. With our materials, other companies make plastic parts for many industries. We support many employees and their families. We produce materials right here in the heartland of our country in Southwest Indiana, and we're growing. My wife, Daniela, is the chancellor for Ivy Tech Community College in Evansville campus. She's a chemical engineer with an MBA. She loves her job, and her team loves her. She's an inspiration to many in the Latino community. We are both involved politically and in many community organizations, locally, regional, and statewide. There is no doubt that we love being part of this community and make a difference. In fact, as you know, we are all proud to contribute together for a better future for our children and our grandchildren. And I know that many immigrants feel exactly the same way. Immigration have been fueling innovation, investment, and entrepreneurship since the inception of this country. But I think that this time we are at a crossroads where we are presented with that choice of stepping on the gas or to cut off the supply of gas for our society's progress. It is time to put our heads together, to resolve our differences, and I understand that there are many, many differences and concerns. I'm not naive, but it is time to come together, to give others the necessary path to greatness, the path to invest, the path to innovate, the path to grow, the path to American citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfonso, for those remarks, and it is the time. And thank you for your contributions to this country and also for employing so many individuals, including Americans as well. And next we have Nancy Navarro. Nancy Navarro is a Venezuelan-American elected official. She is a council member of Montgomery County in support here of Florida. Thank you so much, Nancy, for being here. You are truly welcome, and we appreciate having you.
Thank you so much, Arianny. And also I want to thank Samuel for the invitation. It's such an honor to join this bipartisan group of leaders, really shining the light on this important topic. It is the timing is absolutely urgent. And I, like many of those who have spoken, I'm also an immigrant. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and came to the United States when I was 10 years old, first with my father, was doing postgraduate work. And then in 1983, so that I could go to college, I met my husband. Destiny changed my life. And as one way to give back to now my adopted homeland, I decided to run for public office to make a contribution to my adopted community. And so I have served on the Board of Education in Montgomery County, Maryland, and also as the first Latina ever elected to the Montgomery County, Maryland Council. It's a jurisdiction of 1 million people. It's a jurisdiction that has over 42% of the population that speaks another language. Over 33% are foreign born. And so for me, it is a real honor to be here with you to share just a few insights. I also am a member of the board of the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. I'm the vice president of their corporate board. And last month we had a retreat where we had a speaker, Professor Mauro F. Guillen, the author of a book called 2030. And it was a very auspicious presentation because there were a few takeaways for me that I want to share with you very briefly. It is so connected to this topic. You know, he spoke about how the world's population is aging. Birth rates are down everywhere except in the continent of Africa. The United States has had a historic advantage in terms of population growth because of immigration. And as a report from the National Academies has stated, immigration is pure entrepreneurship. The facts clearly show that immigrants are key to the socioeconomic growth of this nation. For example, according to the Kauffman Foundation, about 23% of all high-tech ventures in the United States are founded by immigrants. Immigrants also contribute greatly to healthcare. A 2016 study by the George Mason University in Virginia found that immigrants represent about 13% of the US population, but are 28% of physicians and surgeons, 22% of nursing and home health aides, and 15% of registered nurses. They are also more than half of the medical scientists employed in the biotech and life science industries. Now also consider this, the National Academy in their 2017 report observed that without immigration to the United States, quote, clearly GDP would be much smaller, and perhaps per capita GDP would be as well, because the US would have an aging population with a considerably lower percentage of individuals active in the workforce. They also noted that arrival of immigrants tend to reduce prices for childcare, food preparation, house cleaning and repair, construction. And when it comes to real estate, an important component of the US economy, immigrant arrivals and their descendants provide additional demand for housing and all of the expenses to go with buying a home. So we also just heard, I believe it was just last week, the latest 2020 census data has shown that indeed, we have an aging population and declining birth rate. But it also has demonstrated and shown that we have this extraordinary number of young people. I think that it's said that between the ages of 18 and 35, half of the young people between the ages of 18 and 35 in the United States are of color, many are immigrants. So ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a bipartisan issue, because it's clear that immigration actually helps the US maintain and strengthen its competitive edge. Immigration reform is urgent and belongs in the budget reconciliation. Now, thank you so much for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you today.
Thank you so much, Nancy. You're a remarkable woman, and we really appreciate your participation. Samuel, if you can give us just a brief closing statement, and we can move forward.
Yep. Thank you all so much to all the speakers for making a clear case for the need for permanent solutions on immigration right now. At ABIC, we believe that providing a pathway to citizenship for TPS holders, dreamers, farm workers, and essential workers is economically important, morally right, and politically smart. Most importantly, we believe the time for action is now. And that's exactly why we've launched a 7-figure national campaign to get it done. Over the next few weeks, we'll continue making this case because, again, we are convinced that the time for immigration reform is now. Thank you again for your attendance, and we will now take questions from the media. If you're with the media, can you please put your questions through the Q&A function in the chat, and please identify yourself as well as your network. También estaremos tomando preguntas en español. Por favor, déjenme saber si es necesario. And we do have a question here for ARIANNY. Arianny, could you tell us a little bit more about the seven-figure campaign that ABIC has launched?
Thank you so much, Samuel. So we have launched our seven-figure campaign, which is covering about a dozen key states where ABIC has operations. It will include stories, support, and advocacy of workers, business leaders, farmers, families, and elected officials, and making the case that immigration reform is urgent and bipartisan, because it is. And it will present economic data actually of how immigration solutions belong in the budget legislation, because they do create jobs, they boost the economy, they ease the labor shortage, they possibly impact the federal budgets and support families. So this is our statewide efforts from all of our chapters, and this is why we're doing this, making sure that we're all connected and pushing this effort forward, because the time is now.
Great. Thank you so much. Another question that we get from the audience right now, what can we do as citizens to push the passing of the reform in the reconciliation process? And Arianny, if you could take that one.
So as citizens, we are asking all of our citizens to not only reach out to your members of Congress, but also join any supporting organizations that can help us move forward. Immigration reform belongs in the budget reconciliation. We want to make sure that our citizens are engaged throughout the process, that they're contacting their senators, that they're contacting their members of Congress and reaching out and letting them know immigrants are contributing to our economy. Or if you're an employer, you can contact your member of Congress and let them know we have employees, we're facing this issue. One of the things that we constantly come across is a lot of people that are asking or letting us know that because of all the uncertainty around TPS holders, they actually feel like holding back. Maybe should they go through the entire process for hiring this person if later on they don't know what their status will be, or even dreamers. Obviously the DACA program has ended and there's so many of them and so much uncertainty. So there is an economic impact. If you have an employer out there that cannot promote the person that they already trust and work with, and it limits our economic growth in so many areas. So you can engage with your members of Congress, you can reach out to your legislators and make sure to make those powerful statements.
And we now have a question in Spanish, so I'm gonna try to answer that. Pregunta de Mike Gramajo de parte de Telemundo Orlando en español. Si pueden compartir una estadística en cuántos venezolanos han aplicado para el TPS. Hasta los momentos, según los números que manejábamos la semana pasada, 180,000 venezolanos han solicitado el TPS, y recuerda que los venezolanos tendrían hasta el 9 de septiembre del 2022 para solicitar el TPS. Dentro de este proceso que estamos aplicando, los venezolanos, que alrededor de 323,000 venezolanos se pudieran beneficiar y obtener un camino a la ciudadanía. Pero repito, hasta estos momentos alrededor de 178,000 venezolanos han aplicado para el TPS, de alrededor de 323,000 que eran elegibles. And now we have another question, in this case from Jennifer Marcial Ocasio from the Orlando Sentinel. The first question is, the budget reconciliation bill is set for votes next month. What support do you have in Congress right now? You say the time is now, but are you convinced that it will be taken into consideration? And I want to hear from one of our business leaders, if possible, Jorge Figueroa from the Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think APIC has been doing a great work working with elected officials in different key states. I was part of a group with fly-in legislative sessions with several congressmen and women in Washington, as well as senators, and there is a lot of bipartisan support. I know that between those legislative sessions, we heard from the team of Maria Elvira Salazar, a Republican here from Florida, from the south part of the state. They support immigration. We know Rick Scott support immigration. We know Marco Rubio support immigration. The real question is, are you willing to part from the political games, to part away from party lines and work to and vote to get this approved, not for a party, but for the millions of people who are waiting for immigration report. So there is support in both sides of the aisles. And the question is, will you vote for the budget and with this reconciliation? Because a lot of people or elected officials don't like this method to get things done. However, if we're not working with these bipartisan reforms like the Dreamers Act and the immigration reform for farm workers, then we need to find a way to do it. And I think reconciliation is the only way to get it done if we don't get enough votes to pass it as a bipartisan issue. But the support is there.
Thank you so much, Jorge, for that answer. And I wanted to circle back to the question that we got from Telemundo. The question had been if we had any statistics about how many Venezuelans had applied for TPS. And as of last week, it was 178,000 Venezuelans have applied through TPS, and that's basically out of 323,000 that are eligible. So we have reached over 50%. They have until September 9th of 2022 to apply for TPS, and if it was to pass through reconciliation, they will have a pathway to citizenship. And then we have another question from Jennifer Marcial Ocasio from the Orlando Sentinel. What do you say to people that say that once TPS holders get a pathway to citizenship, other immigrants will come and will go back to needed assistance? Some say it will be a never-ending process. What is your take on that? And for that, I'll bring back ARIANNY Eduardo.
Thank you, Samuel. And we heard this argument many times before, that it's an incentive, and it's not. Legislation has been passed before where it has been shown that when you legalize immigrants, you not only provide them with the stability that they need, but it also tends to decrease the flow of immigration because there are more set rules in place. Now, yes, there's an issue at the border and it needs to be addressed, but it shouldn't undermine the efforts of legalizing the people that have been here for so many years, especially the TPS holders I met who've been here for 20 years. Should we hold them pretty much without a path forward, without the ability to actually obtain citizenship just because then it's going to incentivize others, and when history has shown that it doesn't. So it is something that we've heard in the past, but we also need to make sure that we move forward the individuals that are here already, that are contributing to the economy and making those efforts.
Thank you so much, ARIANNY. And another point that I wanted to make, we're in the middle of a pandemic that has decimated our economy, and we've seen across the country how immigrants with TPS, Dreamers, essential workers, farm workers have been the backbone to our economy. It is true here in the state of Florida, in key industries like agriculture and hospitality, particularly here in Central Florida. So we need to make sure that we protect our economy by supporting and providing a pathway to citizenship for our undocumented immigrants. In this case, as I said before, TPS holders, Dreamers, essential workers, and farm workers. That is the main thing that we're focusing on, the economic impact that this will have on the American economy as we seek to grow it. And that is all the time we have for questions right now. For members of the media, if you wanted to follow up with any of the speakers, please definitely reach out and we'll make those connections. Thank you again so much to all the speakers and all the reporters for coming and attending to this press conference. As I said before, the time for action is now, and we need to make sure that we get immigration reform done right now. Thank you.